Good morning to everyone, or good evening, or good early morning, depending on where you are. It's a pleasure to be with you here at FIN and moderating today this panel on thinking the future about the circular economy. Circular economy, as you all know, is one of the main topics nowadays, not only in Europe, is a worldwide topic, very connected to the Green Deal, which is one of the strong points that we are going to face in the next years in Horizon Europe, but also not only in Europe, as I was telling. With us today, we have Alexandre Serra. Alexandre is the Managing Director at Águas of Portugal International. So, hi, Alexandre. It's a pleasure to be with you today. We have also with us Jordi. Jordi is the Business Development Director at Ledos Lighting. And it is a pleasure to also be with you, Jordi. Luisa Marques. Luisa Marques is the board member of Circular Economy Portugal. So thank you, Luisa, for being with us today, and it is a pleasure also to welcome you here. Marlene Antunes, from business developer at Be Water Group, Portugal. So Marlene, thank you very much also. And finally, Nathan Jacquemin, the founder of Niem Mushroom Entrepreneurs, young entrepreneur with us, but very connected with this topic of circular economy. So it will be a very good experience and I'm very keen to hear from you, Nathan. So thank you very much for being with us today. And I'm going to start by Luisa. Luisa is going to give a brief overview of the circular economy and what is the situation specifically here in Portugal. So Luisa, please go ahead. The floor is yours.
In 1 second, I'm just going to, excuse me, start. Use a presentation.
Yes, we can hear and we can see.
Okay. So, good morning, everyone. My name is Luisa Marques, and I'm a board member at Circular Economy Portugal, as José was saying. Circular Economy Portugal is a Portuguese NGO working in the circular economy transition with a focus in Portugal. So, just to level things up, for the ones of you that don't know too much about circular economy, I'm going to make a brief presentation about some principles of circular economy and give some examples of the work we do at Circular Economy Portugal. So if we start by where we are in terms of circular economy, well, I would like you to think for a few moments of that you would be living in a space station. In a space station, you have limited resources. So all the food, the water, the equipment that you need to survive and to do the work you're doing needs to be inside that space, but of course loaded by humans, let's say. It's actually a closed system. The only thing that can be sourced outside is actually the energy from the sun, with the solar panels that you can see. I'm alluding to a metaphor here of the spaceman economy, which was an article from 1966 by Kenneth Boulding, which some deem to be the beginnings of the circular economy thinking, let's say. But if we think about it, Earth in itself is like a space station. So Earth is also a closed system. And when you're in space, or when astronauts are in space, they can have this beautiful view of Earth as a closed system. Its resources are limited, and despite its infinite regenerative potential, but I think we sometimes forget about this. So all of you would know that there's these statistics that estimate the day by where we actually consume more resources than the Earth can regenerate for a given period of time. In Portugal for 2020 was May 25th, and there's an estimate for days across the world, and this is a bit, it's quite different from different countries, but overall what it means is actually in 2020 we consumed 1.6 Earths. which we don't have, of course. And you can see that this is something that is recent. So for the last half a century, this started happening. And of course, it is due to the consumption of overconsumption from individual and of course, collective overconsumption. So by 2050, in 30 years time, in our generations, in our lifetime, let's say, in the beginning of the next generations, we will need 3 planets for in terms of resources of what we consume on a yearly basis. But we still continue dreaming of this idea of perpetual growth. So GDP, which is of course the metric that is most used to measure the economic activity, continues to grow, and of course has been growing despite the crisis. And of course this year is there will be some different statistics maybe on a graph like these. But more than that, I wanted to highlight that although we seek for cost efficiency and material efficiency in a profitability with a profitability objective, let's say, in businesses, actually the rate by which we use materials is higher than the rate of the growth of GDP, and this has started surpassing in recent years. Why is this so? Well, we all know, I'm sorry, this slide is actually a graph, it's in Portuguese, but I'll translate. So we currently live in a linear economy, and what we do is basically we take the resources, we make something, we produce, we make something out of those resources. We consume, let's say, those resources, and we waste. Some materials are generally wasted, not only materials, water and energy are also wasted. And in the recent decades, we've been working in a model where recycling to some extent is king, or recycling is the only way of surpassing some of the limitations of the linear model. But recycling is limited. We know that most materials can only be recycled a few times, and some are very hard to recycle. And what the circular economy brings is a completely different view. So it's actually a continuous cycle of producing, consuming, and reusing, let's say. And of course, these would be much more sustainable from a material use than the current linear economy. But in reality, our world is only 9% circular. And in Portugal, this is only, the rate is actually quite low, which is 1.8% against an average in Europe of 11.2%. But on average, we are very far from actually reaching circularity worldwide. So where do we want to be? Well, I think this year has been very challenging in many aspects for humanity, certainly. And of course, maybe you will hopefully give us some different perspectives on things. And whilst we're talking about growth and unemployment and health problems and public health problems, of course, there are things that we couldn't consider as alternative models, let's say. And maybe one can be considered as is a growth or degrowth an alternative, but we can see it in a slightly different way. We can look into our planetary boundaries, let's say, and think that this is our limitation. And as humans, as humanity, we can seek prosperity, of course, the better quality of life, better life expectancy, less health problems, food on a table, education, and so many other things that make us humans and are part of the way we live in society, even culture, which is, of course, on a hot topic due to the pandemic as well. But we need to consider that we can achieve prosperity with considering human needs, fulfilling the basic needs, but without harming or without going outside the planetary boundaries as we see. So not using 1.6 Earths or 3 Earths by 2050. So circular economy gives a lot of hope, I think. There's a lot of different views that circular economy and strategies could resolve. And this is the very known butterfly diagram from Ellen MacArthur Foundation. I'm not going to go into the detail. What I wanted to highlight here is one, well, circular economy is anything but just recycling. It's not about recycling. Recycling is the strategy with least priority in the circular economy. So let's not focus our conversations on that. The key principles about it are the regeneration of natural systems, because we know Earth has that potential, and that's why we've been inhabiting Earth for so long, and of course with all other species, and we've been using those resources, but it can regenerate itself, and we can work in a model that mimics that. We can design out waste and pollution as well to ensure that we have good standards across everything, and that the resources aren't wasted. And we can keep materials, products and materials in use for longer than what we do currently. So on average, many items that we buy, for instance, for household items, are used for very little time. They're sitting on our shelf for a time that we think we'll need, but actually what we want is the function that they do. So there are many different things that can be done differently, and I'm going to give you a few examples. Just to say that we're going to, on this panel, we're going to talk about water and other products as well, biological products, but circular economy is seen as two different flows, let's say. So there's, on the right-hand side, as you can see, what is called the technical cycles, which means mostly products that are manufactured, let's say. And on the left-hand side, biological cycles, where anything that's due to food, energy, biomass, water is considered, and there are different strategies for those. I'm going to give you now some more principles about circular economy. This is not going to be an extensive presentation, so this is just, again, to inspire some action as well from businesses, which are, of course, a big part of the economy and the transition as well. So one of the key principles on circular economy is eco-design. And the reason for this is, for the technical cycle, for everything that is man-made, we need to think not on how we just use or dispose. We need to think at the very start. So we need to think of how we design, how we make things. And these just two examples here of we need to think of the function instead of the design, or the design per se, let's say, or the packaging, for instance. So the example of solid shampoo is one where we want to wash our hair, and we just need the chemics, let's say, or the natural ingredients to wash our hair. And these, we don't need the packaging necessarily. So there's no waste in solid shampoo. At the end, you're left with a tiny bar that you can use to the end. Modular carpeted is another good example, because you want to put carpet on, you want to ensure that it's good sound absorption or thermal absorption, for instance, but you need to cut it according to the space. And if it's a modular carpet, it can adapt to spaces that there's less waste from the cuts needing to be made. Another principle about design is actually we need to design for long-term use. And we all know about timed obsolescence in electronics and other things, but because of the cheap materials that we currently have access to, many times we make and buy products that are not going to last because of its quality, or because we just want to ensure that the next buy is coming in a few years, or in a few months, or in a few days. And so the principles need to be inversed, let's say. But there's a lot of new business models as well on circular economy. And I find, for me, that I have a background in business, I find this very inspiring. So one of the things that is very interesting is that we need to perceive the consumer not as so much as a consumer, but as a user. So the user wants to go from point A to point B. The user wants lighting on an office space or on a public space or at home. They don't necessarily want the lamp. They don't necessarily want to own the motorbike. What they want is that function that it does. So we can perceive consumers actually as users, and instead of ownership, we can offer a service. As a business, we can offer a service. There's a lot, of course, of potential for sharing economy in these as well. Another principle is the fact that is the one of waste is value, and the industrial symbiosis is a beautiful example. To me, this is the Kalundborg symbiosis, which is probably the most known example in Denmark, which is an actual industrial park build from scratch, considering different industries and how they interact with each other. But there's not only materials and byproducts being collectively reused and shared, there's also energy and water being used for cooling or heating, for instance. So it's a collaborative approach to reducing or to use waste, let's say. But there's more. The waste is also food, because when we waste parts of edible parts of food, for instance, we're considering them waste, but actually they can be food in different settings, for instance. And I think NAM will be a great example to explore the idea as well. For me, this was one of the most, let's say, one of my aha moments when I first heard of circular economy. It's actually when we all been living for the last few decades, let's say, with the technology and its acceleration in terms of automation and machine learning and intelligence, artificial intelligence and all that. And we believe that, well, humans will no longer have jobs, let's say, in this economy as we stand, but actually job-intensive economy, circular economy can be a job-intensive economy because of strategies aligned with reuse, repair, remanufacturing, and even recycling. So they are much more intensive functions, let's say, that require a lot of people. And this is a recent study that calculated the potential to generate 6 million net jobs. So considering already the ones that would be lost for, let's say, stopping certain activities or reducing some production activities, there will still be a net flow, let's say, of jobs. So just briefly presenting our role, let's say, Circular Economy Portugal, and in this transition. As I said, we're an NGO. We want to be perceived as circular economy ambassadors. Our focus is mostly on Portugal, but we do work in projects across Europe and some international projects as well. Our role is to accelerate the transition to a circular economy, inspire people, companies, businesses, entrepreneurs, and municipalities and governmental agencies as well. Our products tend to focus on strategies with higher hierarchy, not so much on waste disposal, for instance. So we work a lot on prevention, reuse, upcycling, and resource sharing. These are just a few examples of our projects that we've run recently. So we've been running since 2017. So we're a very recent organization. Repair Café, which is a concept that came from the Netherlands, which focuses on repair and teaching. Volunteers teach people to repair their own items. So you would bring your item to a space, and volunteers would be there helping you, let's say, fix a toaster or do some repair, even sewing on a pair of jeans or something like that. Oh, sorry, the image was here. Another concept that we've run is a library of things. So library of things is a space where you have items, in this case, tools for you to use without owning. So you can just pop in there and use them there. Eventually, some of them you could lend to take home. And this is actually an example in a municipality in Lisbon. This is again another example from reuse and also training on textiles. So this is using old items of clothes, making them into other items of clothes to incentivize reuse instead of just buying. Of course, sometimes you want to upgrade your wardrobe, but there might be something that's already there that you can just reuse. Bela Flor Respira is also a project running in a municipality in Lisbon, in this case, around composting and permaculture. So this is on the biological side. So it's harnessing the potential of the collective and the volunteers, but also the community. This is an agroforestry built, let's say, on in the middle of a neighborhood, an actual neighborhood with problems. So the volunteers and the community all helped to build it and are now maintaining it and let's say harnessing the food that is coming from the space. We have also been doing a lot of content because it's a part of communicating and inspiring others. And this is a documentary series that ran this year in the TV in Portugal that was promoted by us, which is a series of episodes on examples in Portugal of sustainability, circular economy happening elsewhere. And education, of course, it's part of the work we have to do and the work we do because we, as we said, we try to inspire others for action and the transition. But we also do some policy making and advocacy. In this case, with actually a UN environmental program focusing on businesses and small businesses, green and circular businesses in the Mediterranean, more on the advocacy and changing regulation and ecosystems, let's say, in the various different countries. And circular pioneers, this is something we work to support. In this case, showing here 3 different examples, which Natam, of course, will present. These are entrepreneurs that are running these projects in the areas of reuse, upcycling, material flows, and are starting. Of course, they have to, as all entrepreneurial projects, they have barriers of the linear economy to overcome, and our objective is to help small businesses achieve that. And many more. We've worked with many other municipalities and public agencies on various different projects in the areas that I mentioned. And this is it from myself. You can, of course, reach out to me by email or on the chat on the platform for networking as well if you need. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Luisa. It was a very, very interesting presentation and also a very good introduction to the topic. Now I'm going to invite Alexandra Serra, Managing Director of Águas Portugal International. Alexandra, now is the time for you to give the example of Águas of Portugal in this topic of circular economy, especially, I believe, on the water systems. So please go ahead.
Okay, let me try to share the presentation. First of all, good morning to everybody. Thank you very much for the invitation. Well, should I do share screen or share file?
Share screen.
Okay. Okay. Can you see it now?
Not yet. You need to select your screen, I believe, and
I think that my connection is a little bit unstable. Let me try again. No, it doesn't work. Maybe I can send it to you.
When you select share screen, then you need to put your mouse on the screen. It's
okay. Now it's okay. Okay, so, well, as I was saying, thank you very much for the invitation. And Luisa, it was really a great presentation to warm up the panel about circular economy. And I'm going to invite you to dive with me into the water world, okay? And I will try to share with you in the next 10 minutes some of the projects and actions that we are doing in Águas Portugal Group. First of all, for you that don't know very well Águas Portugal Group, here you can see some figures that give you an idea about the dimension of Águas Portugal. So we have now about 3,300 staff, 13 operational companies operating all over the country, so we have a national footprint. We serve about 80% of the Portuguese population, so about 8 million people with water supply and wastewater. We are quite an healthy group in terms of financial. As you can see, our turnover is around 700 million euros per year. So this is what we are. We are also international. We have operations mainly in Africa, also in South America and in East Timor, so we are more present in the Portuguese-speaking world, but not only, we are now also working in Asia, in other different countries. And I'm very happy to share with you that we are a partner of the World Bank in the flagship project Utilities of the Future, which is a very, very interesting project that supports operators around the world to modernize and to foster innovation. And in this project, circular economy is also one of the key pillars of the utilities of the future. So I think it's interesting to share with you ADP vision for the next 5 years, because as you can see in this slide, circular economy is one of our priorities. So we are very, very keen on developing circular economy processes. We are designing the future, but not only, we are also presently already doing some very, very interesting projects, and I'm going to show you some. To start with the Águas Portugal circular economy key pillars, and also, as you can imagine, in water operators, these are the key pillars of circular economy. 4 main pillars. The first one, non-urban wastewater. Águas Portugal his mission is to provide drinking water and treat the wastewater of the urban component, but we are now working to develop integrated solutions for non-urban wastewater, mainly for agro-industrial wastewater. We have in Portugal several environmental problems, and we are working to use the capacity of our infrastructures to give some contribution to solve these non-urban wastewater problems. Also, for the reuse of treated wastewater, further on I will detail on it. Energy neutral, so energy, it's another key pillar of our circular economy action plan. And sludges. Sludges, as you know, it's a subproduct of the wastewater activities, and we are also working a lot on this dimension. So first of all, let me share with you this project where we are closing the water cycle in Lisbon. Luisa, in her presentation, talked about the closed system, closing the systems. That's precisely what we are doing in the urban water cycle. We are trying to close it. And this is a very paradigmatic example in Lisbon. You can see here some photos of wastewater treatment plants that treat the wastewater of the people living in the Great Lisbon metropolitan area. And, well, I think it's interesting to share with you that we are, not only in Portugal, but I think a little bit all over the world, trying to turn into through this paradigm shift. We don't have no longer wastewater treatment plants. We have water resources recovery facilities. This is how we like to call it, because I think we are very happy because our clients give us wastewater, which is a very valuable resources, and we transform it into raw materials.
Okay.
So we have here some of our facilities, the resources recovery facilities, Alcântara, Guia, Frielas, Beirolas, and you can see here some ongoing projects. Some are innovation projects financed by the Horizon 2020, where we transform the wastewater in water for different uses, energy, and bioproducts valorization, biosolids, and nutrients for agriculture. So our goal is to close this cycle, and all of the resources that are generated in the wastewater, transform it in valuable materials. These are some examples. It's very important also to highlight, and Luisa said it also, that it's very important to work together with key stakeholders. We are working with the municipality of Lisbon, and the municipality of Lisbon is using our treated wastewater in smart irrigation projects. We are also working together in the green corridor that the municipality is developing. You can see here a virtual photo of it. Also, sorry, Rock in Rio. It's very important in this issue of treated wastewater to work in projects to create awareness in the society, because it's an issue for the society. And Rock in Rio was a very interesting project to show to the people that treated wastewater is safe when it's used in the proper uses. Another different example, it's in Alqueva. Portuguese people know Alqueva very well. It's a hydraulic scheme in Alentejo, which is a very water scarcity region. And you can see the evolution from a very dry, we have agriculture without irrigation, from a different landscape with lots of irrigation. And in terms of meteorological droughts, it's very interesting to see that along the last 50 years in this region, we have more severe and intense droughts. But since 2005, with the Alqueva scheme starting, although we have more frequent droughts, the impact on the water uses is lower due to the dam. So this is a very good example where Águas de Portugal is working together with EDIA, which is the entity responsible for the management of the Alqueva scheme, and also with the agricultures in the region, because we are trying to close this water cycle together with the agriculture. So this new paradigm of working together, key water users, to use the sludges, to use the energy, to use the treated wastewater, it's a very good example. Now moving to energy neutral. I think that Águas de Portugal is the only operator in the world with this ambitious goal of being energy neutral by 2030. We have a program, we call it Program of Energy Neutral. It's ZERO, the ZERO program. Let me tell you that we are the largest public company in terms of electric energy consumption nowadays. And our goal is to decrease going neutral by decreasing the consumption in terms of 20%, around 20% of consumption, but also to increase the production in 80%. So through biogas, through renewable green energy, solar, hydro, we want to reach 700 gigawatts hour per year in 2030 by investing around 400,000 million euros. This is very important, not only by giving us more efficiency, but also because with this we can reduce the CO2 emissions, and by our calculations this will be around 5 million euros per year of savings. We will be independent from the energy markets because we produce our own energy, and as you know, energy markets are really very volatile. And also, this will bring new best practices of sustainable asset management, looking at the valorization of the full life cycle of our assets, including the energy as a key component. To finalize, let me tell you a little bit about the sludges valorization plan that is being approved recently. It has to do with the reduction of the sludges production, about 50% of the amount of wastewater sludges leaving our facilities, and also to increase the value and safety of our product. So we want by 2030 to valorize all our sludges, and this, of course, it has also externalities, very important externalities, as again reduction of CO2 emissions, and also have solutions that are powered by solar energy. A final reflection about the importance of partnerships on circular economy. We know that this new paradigm needs new mentality, needs innovation. We need to innovate not only in technology, but as Luis also said, in business models. And these projects that I show you, mainly the one about the sludges valorization, we are developing a very innovative business model to support all these action plan. Communication and training. Education is very important. We have a strong program on communication to incentivize and to create awareness in our clients about the importance of Águas de Portugal working in circular economy. And also it's very important fiscal incentives. And in our case, we are a regulated company. The role of the regulators are really key. They are key agents on incentivizing the developing further developments on circular economy. Thank you very much. I will leave you with this picture. Vira is a beer that Águas do Tejo Atlântico produces with treated wastewater. It's not for selling. It's only another instrument to create awareness about the importance of treated wastewater. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alexandra. So maybe some day you're gonna start to sell it also as a product. It was a very interesting presentation, and I'm very happy to see that Águas of Portugal is working fully in this commitment of circular economy. And now I would like to make only two informations, one for the speakers, one for the public. Concerning the speakers, I would like to ask you to mute your micro when the other speakers are speaking, because there are some noise, so please do that. And to the public, if you want to place any questions, you can do so in the question answer tab here in the platform. At the end of all the speakers, I'm going to open the discussion. So all the questions that are raised by you during this period, I'm going to place them to our speakers. So use the Q&A tab and put your questions there. And of course, everybody will be happy to answer it. Now I'm going to invite Marlene. Marlene is a business developer from Be Water Group. So we were speaking about water. Now we continue to speak about water and how is the experience of Be Water Group in the circular economy activities. Thank you, Marlene. Please go ahead.
Hello everyone. So I will start my presentation. Just a minute. Okay. This is a great opportunity to be here today and continue the theme of Alexandra. We continue to listen about water system, but now has a private economic operator. I am a business developer at BWGPT. Be Water as part of the BWGPT group. In the water sector, we are present as Be Water, but in Portugal, in our all activities, we are presented as BWGPT. So I will give you a presentation of our activity and how it is integrated in this circular economy. It's a quick presentation. I will give you only highlights of our activities. So next. We are a Portuguese company that belongs to an international BWG group, which core business is water system. When I talked about water system, I mean the whole water cycle, production, supply, and wastewater treatment plant. So we are in Portugal, we are operating in 3 different markets: water, waste, and energy. And our strategy has been to become a private economic operator in these 3 different markets separately. But in our view and in our goal is to interconnect them. So how do we organize our activity today? Okay. In water, everything starts with water, and BWG begin in water too. And efficiency is the word that defines our activity to orientate our mission, that environmental protection. And in water, we have been present for almost 30 years as an operator in the water sector. We are a water utility. In our history, we have been responsible for the water supply system in 4 Portuguese cities, and we are a service provider in contracts for operation and maintenance in water and wastewater treatment plants in the private sector, for industry, and in public service. The Águas de Portugal group is our main client, and we are a long-term partner, and of course we want to continue to be a partner and a better partner in this, probably in this circular economy of water. So in the waste, the management is the word to achieve these sustainable communities. Implementing strategies for recycle, reuse, and reduce the waste, and improving urban waste transport and collection systems. This is our first steps in this market. Of course, the urban waste is the first sector in this market, the first market in this sector that we began our activity in management of public urban solid waste collection systems. And we are making research and development of organic waste treatment technologies in partnership with universities. And organic waste, I am talking about agro-industry waste. It's difficult to pass the pages. So in energy transition is driving the whole policies needed to the market and to promote the green and renewable energies. So in energy, our activity, we are a technology suppliers. We have several contracts as a supplier of efficient street lighting systems, photovoltaic system for self-consumption production, and charge for electric vehicles. So it's been difficult, okay? Circular economy. So far I explained to you that we are present in 3 different markets separately: the water, the waste, and the energy. And as our core business is the water sector, we believe that being a technology supplier and technology for the waste treatment, we become a better partner and help our clients to get self-sufficient and more productive systems. Of course, we continue to be a service provider, but matched with this other experience, we have a better proposals for our clients. Sorry. So in circular economy, BWG wants to be an important player in the water circular economy, providing the necessary technologies to make systems self-sustainable. Nowadays, our clients no more seeing their own systems in the old way, that energy is needed for start the system, and the waste are viewed as a end of the process, and all of these, the energy and the waste are the major costs of the system, of the water system. Now our clients, and Alexandra show you, they are viewing the system as a circular approach, and now the water has a natural resources, and the waste, the products of the systems, can be used by the source of the new energy, and this energy could feed the whole system. So this new approach, of course, makes systems more self-sustainable. And with green energy, we are reducing the CO2 emissions. And with this new approach, of course, we are protecting the environment and saving money to be that it's the most goals that the clients want, save money, of course. But this money could invest in the system and in new technologies, and reduce the water produced, and the whole environment could, of course, be better with this approach. So now, and so far in Portugal, we have 4 energy efficiency projects in wastewater treatment plan, and 2 of them the major systems of Algarve, and it including energy production for self-consumption, renewable energy, and we have another project not in the water sector, because in the water sector we have this old view and the new view, but in the community we have the same approach. The community needs energy and produce waste, and our approach for the community is the same, circular economy. And so far we have 1 project, 100 village project, which aim to fight the energy poverty, and I believe the next opportunity to speak with you about our projects, I will show you our first results of this project. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marlene. It was very good to hear your experience from the Be-Water Group. Now, we have with us Nathan. Nathan is the founder of Neem Mushroom, which is a company that deals exactly with the reuse of raw materials on his business itself. So I think it's a very interesting and a very relevant example that he's gonna show us today. So Nathan, the floor is yours. Please go ahead.
Yes. Hi everybody. So my name is Nathan. I'm the founder of Nam. If I mean not Niam, it's Nam, and Nam actually means mushrooms in Vietnamese. So it's not a random name. It's and it's because I like the way it sounds and the way it looks. Maybe I'm gonna share the screen so that everybody can see your entire screen. Okay. I'm not able to, for some reason, I'm not able to share the screen, but I think that's fine. I'll explain the company and the business model, how it works. So I started Nam 3 years ago, and it came from a need to take action for exactly all the reason I think we're explaining all of you guys were explaining during this panel, is that we need to change the way we do business. Because when I was studying business, I was a bit shocked with the fact that business most of the time is only about increasing margins and reducing costs. And I thought there must be something more to it. And I think the conversation is really about managing to reconcile economy and ecology, right? Because most of the time people say, okay, or we create jobs and we destroy nature, or we protect nature and then we don't create jobs and the economy doesn't grow. But I think here is the trick. We need to find business models that are able to use what is locally available and harvest the different, in the case of the circular economy, it goes mainly with the waste, trying to find the different ways that we can reuse. And by reusing this waste, upcycling this waste, we will be able to create growth and to create jobs. So this was really my thinking when I was studying. And so I started to look for a business model that at my level, I was at the time 22 or 23. I'm 25 now. I'm not much more older. And I was able to put into action. I didn't have a lot of money, and I still don't. I went for a hunt for a different business model. And one of the business models that I found was the fact of using coffee waste to produce mushrooms and organic fertilizers, something really simple. So I decided, okay, let's do it. I found a guy that actually gave me a space in the city center of Lisbon for 1 year for free. And he said, I like your idea. Try it. You have a year. And so I took that basement and I transformed it into a small mushroom farm, where was really simple. I was going with my little car around the city, collecting the coffee waste, and transforming that into mushroom. It took me actually 6 months to figure out and to grow the right mushrooms. That was the main challenge in the beginning. And then from there, I was collecting, I think, around 20 kilos of coffee waste per day, and producing maybe 5 kilos of mushrooms per day. So that was really small scale. And I was selling, and there was some traction and some interest. And then one day, someone knocked at my door. It was Delta Cafe, which is the main distributor of coffee in Portugal. And they said, yo, we like what you do. Would you be interested in doing a partnership? So I said, yeah, why not? I think it would be interesting because we would have more impact this way. Okay, sorry. And so we would have more impact this way. And so we started sitting together and imagining urban farm. So how could we produce locally inside of the city of Lisbon using the coffee waste that comes from the city? So what we imagined and what we implemented now is a farm in the city center of Lisbon in Marvila, where we use all shipping containers that we transformed into mushroom growing rooms. And then every day, Delta brings us around 200 kilos of coffee waste. So that is quite a lot of coffee waste at the end of the month. It's around 4 tons of coffee waste that we upcycle. And we then transform that into mushrooms. We started 4 months ago, the production. And in 3 months, we went from 0 kilo of mushroom to 500 kilos of mushrooms. And our goal is to get to 1 ton of mushroom per month. And with that, we would upcycle 4 tons of coffee waste per month. And the big advantage of being in the city center is that once we collect the mushrooms, we harvest the mushroom and during the same day. And since we are also really close to our customers, which are mainly restaurants, cafes, small supermarkets, mercerías, we are able to collect and deliver the same day. So in terms of freshness and quality of the mushroom, it's really good. And that is really the advantage of being inside of the city center, is that you create a relationship with your clients, you have a good quality product, but also you use what is locally available. And so that's what we do. But then after collecting the mushrooms, we have some leftover because not everything transforms into mushroom. It's about when we have 10 kilos of coffee waste, we get 2 kilos of mushrooms. But then what is really interesting here is that in the beginning, we have those 10 kilos, then we have 2 kilos of mushrooms, and there are 8 kilos left of waste from our production. And that waste is actually not waste again. It's a fertilizer that we can also sell to local farms because it's really rich in a lot of nutrients because of the mycelium, because of everything that is in there. And so that's how we go from a waste to taste. That's how we go from having coffee waste, so waste. We grow mushroom in the city center and also fertilizer. And that's how we close the loop and create 2 cash flow out of the waste. So that coming back to reconciling ecology and economy, it's exactly that. It's seeing waste not as wasted, but as a resource, as a value that we then take advantage of. Because what really few people know actually about waste, and that is, I think it should enter the mind of people, because I really hope it's going to change, is that waste is free. For now, waste is free. I think with circular economy becoming bigger, I hope it's going to change. At the end of like maybe in 10 years, people are going to pay to collect coffee waste, I hope, because that would mean that there is a business model behind. But at the moment, it's free. So you have a primary material that is free, and you are able to create value and to create jobs with that. And plus, I like the way to frame that, because it's something that nobody wants, waste, and you transform it into something that everybody needs, food. So I think that's why it's very important to focus more efforts on circular economy. Thank you very much. My presentation was a bit more short, but I hope you guys enjoy, and thank you for listening.
Thank you, Nathan, for this, for sharing with us this quite interesting experience of NAM. And I hope also, as you mentioned, that in the future, there'll be more experience like yours, because this means that circular economy is really implemented in our daily lives. Now I'm going to jump to our last speaker, Jordi Monreal, which is the business developer of Ledus Lighting, and he's going to speak about the Ledus and how they plan to incorporate circular economy on their activities. Please go ahead, Jordi.
Okay, thank you so much. Nice to meet you again. See you my screen. Listen me okay? Because I reconnect. You listen me okay? Yeah, okay, thank you. Okay. I begin with a little presentation of the company, okay? We are a service efficiency company from 14 years ago, okay? And now we are one reference in Spain. We are the biggest company that manage more lighting points, street lighting points in Spain, with more than 40,000 points, okay? This is our model, and this year we think that the business model changed, not enough with manage the street lighting systems, and we need to improve in areas as solar, water, 5G, that go together to improve the situation of the cities, okay? Then we develop some solutions in this way, okay? This is our principal business, the lighting. After we see some samples about the savings and the return and the payback for the cities, okay? That is clear now to manage, okay, yeah. Here, okay? By example, Jaén, when we made 5 years ago, was the biggest city in Europe with street lighting management, okay, to change to LED, and the savings are growth at 78% in average, and in money near to 1 million by year. That is near to 3% of the budget of Jaén, okay. And in the private sector, we made the biggest project private with more than 30,000 lightings management in Empark, that was in Spain and Portugal, okay, and the savings were more than 1 million, okay, and a total budget of 4 million for the project, and with a payback less than 2 years. Okay, then it's very profitable. The payback is very good and sustainable for the economical situation and circle. Okay. Now, in solar, I understand that all of you have a lot of experience, but it's a little change now in the market with the 3.0 version of the solar now, and the payback improve a lot. Then there are movements now in Spain that industrial are studying the possibility to have auto generation of electricity with only solar, that until now is not possible, okay, and invest in this way. I think that is important change in the market in this sense, okay. In the sector of water that we are beginning, we begin as an idea, we have in exclusivity pattern, okay, that is a turbine that with the generate electricity with water, but the people can use the water to drink after we use. Then not only in the cities, we open a new market in the dams and and we grow more than we expect. And now we are thinking into do new factories because we are in overload with this product. The payback is very good, between 1 or 3 years, and generate clean energy, okay. And by the way, we are the only manufacturer that have this product in the world, and we are open new markets that we don't think until now, and growing very quickly in this line. Then for put numbers, until now we are selling 100 millions in street lighting projects, more or less, and it's our first business line, but this is growing now, is the second, and near to the first in only 1 year. Okay, then we see the evolution of this line. But for the water sector is very interesting. The payback is very good, and we have a lot of customers. We are growing in USA and South America very quickly, and in Asia with a lot of options too. Okay, with this line. Okay. Okay, 5G. The development of 5G for us is a key point, and the best way to install 5G by the reference that we have in other cities is or two ways, or with the street light, okay, because the 5G network needs more points, or through the water system, okay. We develop a system with the street light to develop these systems that are critical for the vehicles without driver, okay. After of that, we speak a little about this point. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Other point that we develop is the electric car poles, okay, but we try to have solutions without cost of energy, okay. We start with solar and with solutions of generate energy to try to cost zero to generate this energy. And we are made the first pilot now near of you in Galicia, in Begonte, near of Porto. Okay. Okay, the smart lighting solutions that we have create new solutions and new possibilities and use that is creating for the tourists. I think that now there is a lot of lighting festival that are creating new possibilities and make good trips. Lyon is probably the best sample in Europe, and there is a market to explore. There is a lot of possibilities with the smart poles to make new service in the cities, and we are with pilots, share the phone, other options, and we see after that more samples about it. Okay. Okay. In the short future, we thinking that will be the short future in the cities. This sample are using in some cities in the world, but in little by the moment. Vehicles without driver needs 5G to be profitable and to implant. Okay, but we think that the first phase is more easy that go to the industry and airports. In Asia, in airports, in general, there are many samples, okay, and industry, especially in the car industry, is where are more incentives. The question is to have a very good, successful implantation, they need 5G too in the industry. And second phase probably in the cities, because in the city, the develop of the 5G network go slowly probably because they need to publish the tender, the telephone market, and after that make the compromission and the legal rules. There is a lot of problems with the legal rules to implant vehicles without driver in the cities because, by example, if you go in the car and a children cross up you, okay, then if the car turn, you die. But if not turn, die the children, which is the decision, okay? That is the principal problem. I think that is not technical problem now, is legal problem to decide if we go ahead with the vehicles with driver in the cities or not. There are, I think that more than 10,000 moral problems to decide which is the best solution, okay? Then I think that they go slowly in this sense. Intelligent software managed energy. I think that now there is a change in this because until now, the software, yes, control the energy, okay, but now is the possibility to control online and take decisions online with without humans. That means that in a cities, by example, we save 7% of the energy without automatic install of this type of software, but depend on the city. There is very different cities and not is a line solution. In some cities it's very good and in others the payback is very bad. But in any case, it's a very good solution for energy consumption. And after that, the street lighting, I think that we go to smart pole solutions with several use, okay? In Wuhan, by example, is the charge phone, okay? In London is to detect park car, where is free and you can park, avoid turn and turn to the localization of the park car, improve the traffic. In Singapore, they use to control the traffic, and the average is that they save between 1 or 2 hours by day to the drivers, saying which is the best possibility. Garbage management, okay, to control the status, the theft, and make a best management, or the vehicle without traffic used to in San Francisco. But by the moment, I think that this is the short future in the cities. All these solutions are in some cities in the world, but little case by the moment. But we think that in the future, in a little future, the next 5 years, they grow this type of solutions in many cities, okay? And long future, difficult to say, but there are some things that are very good, but need a lot of research and development yet. Now there are nanotechnology, okay, and with 1 watt of nanotechnology lighting, you get that the lighting that you get with 100 watt of LED. If we compare with the lighting that we have without LED, is 400 less, okay? Here is a long field to research and development, but in the future, probably yes. Now is very expensive. It's not possible to pay back, but probably the future, yes. Other thing, with nanotechnology now, it's possible to read the waves of the brain, okay, and take decisions. Now it's function with the mouse of the computer. I do the experience of have this sensor and control one object or other object. There are a company that if you have a child with Wells, you can control with the brain, okay? The question is that all the people have access to this technology, and by example, in the lighting, you can select the environment of light that you wish. We need to improve 5G. 5G is not enough. The latency, probably 6G is enough because in the brain we have, in the average, several million of neurons, and we need to read all very quickly to know the waves frequency and take decisions. The future is possible. Another thing that improve the market in the future probably are the super materials. There is a lot of super material with very good qualities that let us to grow in several trends. By example, magnetic fluids, okay, let us use lighting inside of the body, inside of the liquid. Then let us to have very clear photos in the internal body, in a swimming pool, in system with water to take decisions, okay? Autoinflammable metal that generate hot by itself, let us to generate energy, okay? Without any foam. The problem is that it is very unstable by the moment, okay, and have radioactive components. But is that used, by example, now to go to the space, okay? Banta black is the material near to 100% black. That is very important to take decisions with the light and sensors, because now the vehicles without driver, the principal problem that they have is when a vehicle is white and is very clean, the sensors with the light maybe things that is only light. Then if we use Banta black to generate a space that are very easy to distinct for the sensor, it's easy to manage with nanotechnology, with the brain situation that we can, for example, use a fly by ourselves, or obviously the vehicle without driver with less problems. And graphene aerogel is the soft material in the world at this moment, okay? If you see, is I think that 8 or 10 less light than the air, okay? And then last, if we combine with nanotechnology, by example, we can do a frequency wall that lets us that we control, by example, in a plane the sound. Then if we are with other one, we can speak only in our space and control that nobody more listen our conversation. There are a lot of possibilities, and it's pending the combination of this technology, nanotechnology, the super materials, 5G, 6G, and I think that the merge of this probably change the world, probably solve the cancer, many problems on transport. There is a big ways here to grow. I think that the world change a lot in the next 10, 20 years, and the possibilities are infinite, okay, near to infinite, okay, we see. Okay, our contact and finish. Thank you.
Thank you.
Obrigado. I push in the phone. Thanks on obrigado, because I think that now the love that is the very strong movement in the world, it's changed. Before it is the arrow of Cupido, and now the tool that moves the love is the mobile. When you speak with young people, 90% of the people use the phone as the tool of the love. Then I think that is a better way. In my opinion, it's a very good moment for the circular economy, because I think that we are in the best moment of the world. More people have access to the food, more people have access to the technology or tools of our car. In average and in name and in number, we are in the best moment of the world, except coronavirus maybe, but is, I think, a little step that we survive. Thank you to all. Nice to meet you. And I hope that we meet in person soon.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you. Now I'm going to open the panel for discussion. Of course, those that are in public may put your questions in the Q&A tab, and I'll be very happy to share these questions with our speakers. And don't be afraid to put any question. So this is the time for doing that. I want to open a bit the discussion. We all know that there was the Paris Agreement some years ago. Now in Europe we are going to deal with the Green Deal, which is one of the biggest investments ever in environment, changing business models of companies, everything. Luisa, you show that the circular economy could be or should have an important role in order to achieve these goals from the Paris Agreement and now from the Green Deal. What is still needed? What should we do more than we are doing now? And I'm speaking, of course, in Portugal, because according to your percentages, we are still a bit lower than the average. But I'm also speaking about Europe and about the world. What should we do? And I'm going to start with you, Luisa, and then I'm going to ask all the other speakers in your companies what is needed in your opinion. What should we do better and more?
Sure. Well, that's an interesting point, and of course, as I mentioned, current economic setting is all still geared up for a linear economy, and many of the barriers, although Nathan actually mentioned the fact that waste is free, and that is not a barrier, it's a opportunity, or is free in many cases for the ones that want to collect it eventually. Actually, the cost of virgin raw material, like plastic that is derived from oil, actually has decreased to some extent. Something that is quite eye-opening is the fact that the cost of recycled plastic, for instance, is higher than the cost of virgin plastic. And this is, economically speaking, or for a business as well, it's very difficult to design a business case when you have virgin materials at very low cost. And the reason why that is because the producer liability is not complete, is not full. You might know EPR schemes that are, in Europe, we have, many countries are quite advanced in those and have many schemes to manage many items, not only electronics, textiles, construction materials, furniture, many different groups of items. But in reality, many times, for many other products, there is no liability for the extraction, the pollution to some extent as well, and for the extraction of raw materials. And so, of course, the cost of a new item is much lower than the cost of even recycled or reused items sometimes. And I just start here because it gives us a more micro level. Your question was more of a macro level. And of course, in Europe, not only the Green Deal, which is recent, but there was already a circular economy action plan prior to that. In Portugal, a circular economy action plan exists already since 2018. Actually, this morning, there was another webinar happening early morning, which I managed to join for about half an hour, hearing the Inês Costa, Secretary of State, speaking a bit about the evolution of circular economy in Portugal. And the project that was being presented today is one funded by the European community on helping or supporting Portugal in structural changes aligned with the circular economy and with a focus also on waste management and bio-waste management. So from a European level, a European environment point of view, there are a lot of enabling factors already happening towards circular economy. Portugal is definitely less advanced than the average, and that's why projects like this one are happening, and the directives also, there are directives like the bio-waste directive is coming into effect very soon. We are a bit behind that in Portugal as well, but elsewhere in Europe, other countries are more advanced. So the enabling factors from a regulation point of view, some of them are there. Of course, there are many others that are missing. In Europe, even in Europe and elsewhere, the project that I mentioned, SwitchMed, which we're getting to a public consultation now for its project in looking to change regulation on the enabling factors to help circular and green businesses with their establish themselves and be successful in Mediterranean countries. And many of the gaps we've highlighted are to do with taxation, even demand, of course, public consumer demand. And Alexandra mentioned a lot of communication, and the beer example is great because there's a lot of barriers to overcome even on that. We all have our perception of waste and or even reused items like secondhand clothing, toys, books, and is still not in many countries in Europe and elsewhere is still not the first choice. Of course, there are countries in Europe where the movements have started much earlier, and Netherlands and Germany are great examples. Netherlands, especially, its circularity rate is much greater, and there's a number of different initiatives that are great best practices and inspiration for businesses, municipalities, and governments as well. But there's it's difficult to point out in a small intervention a lot of the enabling factors that are needed, but there are many certainly needed. At a regulation point of view, from a European point of view, some then needs to cascade down to national levels as well. Public procurement, just to mention one. Public procurement, there are plans and there are initiatives happening also in Portugal. The European Union has the Green Public Procurement Act. I'm not sure if it's an act, I forgot the name, but there's a lot of initiatives coming out of that too, and it's being implemented in Portuguese example too. But because public procurement is relevant because it's a driving force for change, as of course it's governments are big buyers and can lead to change in businesses that want to supply governments, of course, and that can then lead to cascading effects in the economy and in businesses in general. So just to name a few gaps and opportunities, I hope, not to fully answer your question.
Okay, I don't know if any of the speakers wants to add anything more. Otherwise, I can jump for another question. So, Nathan, I think it's the first time I hear about, or it's one of the first time that I hear about a company with introducing circular economy on consumer products. Why there are not so many companies doing this shift? And what should these companies do to start? And what kind of results should we see and the outcomes from this, in your opinion?
That is a good question. I think from consumers, there is a big demand for more sustainable product and for concrete action from big companies and from companies in general. So I think most of the time we can expect a good reaction from customers. Customers, they are not willing to pay a lot more, but they may be willing to pay a bit more if it's more sustainable. What customers are also looking for, I think, to be honest, are stories. Customers like to have a story behind a product, and that is what circular economy can also create. Is a nice story, is something people can relate to and understand. So those are the two things I think why I think companies should be releasing more products, circular economy products, to the B2C market. And then I think what is also difficult and the shift that many companies need to do, even in B2B, and as Luisa was mentioning, is the shift from selling a product to selling a service. Because essentially, if you shift your business model to a circular business model, you're going to end up selling a service. Because what you do basically with circular economy, as the light or maybe as the coffee, is that you retain ownership of your product. And what you do is that you rent your product just for the service. So in this case, just to have a coffee, and then you keep ownership of the coffee beans. Just to have light, and then you keep ownership of the light bubbles. Because as Luisa mentioned, we don't need light bubbles. We just need light, right? So I think this is really the shift that circular economy is going to do. And I think this is a shift really interesting for the global economy, is to shift more from a product to a service, because then it would mean also that the economy is more mature and that we're using less primary material, or at least that we are able to upcycle and transform it in a different way. And yeah, and I was saying, I think customers are, at least in the case of the mushrooms, they really love the quality of the mushrooms, the story that is behind, and the fact that it has a positive impact. What we did, of course, was to try to calculate the impact we have compared to a base scenario, so to compare to a normal mushroom farm and our mushroom farm. And if we produce 1 ton per month, we will save the equivalent of planting around 1,200 trees per year. I know if we look at an industrial scale, it's nothing, but I mean, for a small urban farm, if you can replicate that in different cities and in different locations, it can become quite impactful. And also, I think the most important of all about circular economy is changing the mind of people, right? Because that's where everything happens. At the end of the day, the world is maybe made of technology and of everything, but it's also made of humans. And we have emotions, we have feelings. And that also means that we need to understand and shift our mind to, because most of the people don't know what really circular economy is, or at least they don't have a concrete example. So that's why it's really important. And how do we do that? It's by bringing products that customers can understand and can touch and can feel, because then they can feel the story. They can then gain interest in circular economy, because if it stays only for the industries, then people never see and never understand what are the implications of it. So I think this is why it's really important to also do some B2C, even though it's not that we're going to have the biggest impact, I agree, but to change the mind of people, that is very important, I think.
Thank you, Nathan. You focused a very important point about the notion of circular economies, and it's important to identify that the 3 pillars of circular economy. One, of course, is use waste and RCDs as a resource, but there are other 2 more pillars. One is to prioritize the regenerative resources, so give prioritization to these resources. And the second one is to preserve and extend what is already made. So try to have a long life cycle of what is already done and developed. So this is other 2 pillars that are not too much focused with respect to circular economy. We have here a question from Gabriela Oliveira, and now you speak about introducing circular economy also in the services. And Gabriela is asking about the water sector. How far are we from suffering a real crisis considering these reserves? If nothing is nothing about it. So, and what could be done to avoid this lack of water reality in the future? This is a real problematic, and how should we reuse the water in order to avoid this future problem that we're going to have not only in Africa, but in many places all over the world. So I would like to ask Alexandra and then Marlene, those that are more connected to the water industry and operation and so on. So please try to answer Gabriela. Alexandra, you can start.
I can start. Thank you, Gabriela, for your question. Well, as a matter of fact, water crisis is already, and it's going to increase in the near future. Many international reports, mainly the European Economic Forum, highlights that the water crisis will be one of the major risks that the world will have to face in the coming future. So your question is really very relevant. Anyway, we are lucky in Portugal. We are starting to feel some impact of the climate change, mainly in the south of the country, where scientists already think that there is a trend of structural scarcity. So to answer to your question and looking at our country, I think that 5 years ago, I would not recommend to think about desalination for Portugal. But now, I think that is something that we have to start to study, to see when to be prepared. I think preparedness is also very important in this new context of increasing water scarcity. So we need to be prepared with and start to study the desalination. And coming to the circular economy, of course, recycled water should be in the first line of our strategies. And in terms of recycled water, and going back to what Luisa said, it is very, very important to have fiscal incentives and to have the engagement of the regulator. I give you the example of what happened in Portugal, I think 6-7 years ago, with the plastic bags in the supermarkets. It was almost overnight that people changed the habits and started to take his own bag to the supermarket. Why? Just because we had to pay 10 cents of euro to buy a plastic bag. And it was really very, very disruptive. So in terms of the recycled water, it's important not only fiscal incentives and regulatory engagement to be able to have enabling economic environment to incentivize the use of the recycled water, but it's also very important to create awareness in the society that it is safe. It is very safe. So just to finalize this intervention, let me tell you that I believe that in a very near future, we are going to use wastewater, treated wastewater much more in Portugal than we use now. Águas de Portugal, in Águas de Portugal, we have a strategic plan to have ambitious percentage of treated wastewater in some of our largest wastewater treatment plants. So we are working very hard on that. It is a priority for us, but in order to be effective, we really need fiscal incentives and regulatory engagement.
Thank you, Alexandra. Considering this, Marlene, and from the Be Water Group point of view, what will be the strategy, of course, for Portugal, but also worldwide? Because I believe it will be different realities for different countries, in your opinion.
Yes, but we believe that a circular economy, it's a strategy and it's the way how we need to acting in the future, now and in the future, but it's not the only answer. We need to focus in efficiency. When this energy transition began and we are installation more renewable energy, we know that the country have this goal for the 5 years, 10 years, implementing more renewable energy, but it's not mean that the energy need to be cheap or free, because we need to not shift our mind that we need to only consume the water we needed. And as a manager and as a producer of water, we need to produce only the water the communities needed. So the losses project, contain the leakage of the water in the network system need to be done. We need to be more efficient. And in the wastewater treatment, of course, the reuse the water is a good behavior. And as a consumer, we need to shift, as Alexandra said, that we need to believe that this we can give a use for this water plus, this reused water, but we need to have more efficient process. We need to produce only the sludge, the minimum sludge, because if we don't do this, I don't think we have a better future, just because we are in the circular economy. So answer about the international, and of course we are focused in the African countries. Our responsibility as a developer of technologies is to develop a technology that making available all the supply system of water self-sustainable. Because if we are in Portugal focused in saving money, they are focused to have a system that are available to them, and renewable energies, and interconnect this renewable energy in the water system, I think is the good answer for this country. And we need to develop more that is solution, so we can provide them this whole solution that waste and energy are together with the water.
Thank you, Marlene. Also, one of the pillar of Horizon Europe is the digital transition. My question, and specifically to Jordi, because you mentioned the use of digital activities also in order to achieve the circular economy. Can you detail a bit, Jordi, how internet, other forms of IT and so on can promote the circular economy in your opinion, and specifically in your company?
Thank you for the questions. It's obvious that the technology is key to the people know the possibility of circular economy and the savings of the energy that we can do. I think that a key point is the education too, because now we see 1 month ago that Japan go to change his model of education for all the people, including and focusing the people know many language, technological knowledge, okay, and I think that is key to introduce in the education the possibility of manage the energy, have a concept of circular economy, because when we speak about a society of culture, the big change that if we check in the last 20 years are probably in Brazil and in Asia. That is when change his education model, introducing research and develop concepts of industrial concepts in the education, and more interaction with other cultures. I think that is a very key point, introduce this concept in the education, that I know is difficult and is a slow change, but not other way. To go more quickly, yes, that the technology help to us to pass all the information are many countries. I think that Africa is a very good sample. Many countries change in the last 10 years in technology, in energy, in the society in general, including the democracy. But the education, I think that is a very key point, and the technology help. Obviously, that the part that we do as companies introduce the technology to improve the savings. Our specialty is the light, but now we are introducing in the water management too, okay? And the possibilities, we have a very good payback normally, and always is circular economy, the project that we do. But I think that the key point, because there are many processes that without the collaboration of the society is not possible to continue and improve, because I think that the projects that we don't need the companies, the collaboration of the people, we do. With the governments, step by step, there are improvers in the market, and we go ahead and go to the market. But the process that need the collaboration of the society, I think that the key point is introducing the education, and I don't see other way, but I think that is a key point, okay? I don't know if it's as well correctly that you asked, but I think that my opinion, the technology, yes, but we need that the people know which is the process to have a better process, better energy, a better circular economy. Okay.
I fully agree, and I'm very happy to see that Águas de Portugal is already investing on that, and also Luis already also focused a bit that training is an issue here, because in fact, if we want to move towards a circular economy, we need to change the consumer behavior, and the fact is that in reality we still do not see this happening. Luis, what can we do more? Because I'm at university, and I see that still at university there are not courses dealing exactly with the circular economy. And this is not only in Portugal; it's across Europe. If we see the programs in other many courses, and what can we do more in order to push? Maybe it's not even in university. Maybe it's the secondary or even at the basic level that we need to integrate this on, because this generation will be the future generation, and if we want to change the consumer habits, then we need to do something more. Luisa, what is your opinion about that, please?
Yes,
Yes.
you're right. There's
Sorry.
No, sorry.
Before you.
No, just saying that yes, there is definitely need to integrate. I don't think it's only to do training and education on circular economy per se. What we need is to integrate the circular economy model and principles in our current economics and business and environmental engineering and design across all disciplines. There is one amazing thing of circular economy, which is it needs multidisciplinary teams to be implemented. You don't just need environmental engineers. You don't just need designers, but actually it's the integration of all of these things, like anything else that we produce generally, if we think about it, right? So I think it is really absorbing the principles into many disciplines, although of course we're at a stage that circular economy training, specific training for professionals that are already working and leading the change, or that could lead the change. Of course, specific training for the ones that are currently in university, of course, is also relevant, but it's more than that. Honestly, I think it is integrating the principles. I was trained in business. And in all my economic courses, all the business courses, degree I've done, and I completed an MBA only 6 years ago as well, on top of my business degree. None of these was discussed. And I mentioned 1966 is when from the principles started, and in the 1970s and 80s, Walter Stadler, which is one of the other fathers of circular economy, started producing content on that, and of course more recent books released recently on other aspects of circular economy. So the principles aren't new, but we can not only businesses, but an education continues focusing just on the traditional, let's say, and economics is a great example. I briefly alluded, because there was no time to go into the detail of the donut economics model, which I find inspiring. And if you listen to Kate Raworth speaking in one of her, if you go on a webcast or on YouTube, you'll find a number of different videos just of her explaining the basics. She will put down to earth the economic principles that we still use as rules, as laws, as the economists state, which are not only very old, never challenged properly because they're still being taught in universities, and they're actually they were made up, let's say, by economists trying to mimic things like physics that is an actual law from the universe, or many laws from the universe, and they were just trying to mimic, and they had not yet been challenged. So if you think about that, we can see how much there is to be made, be done in terms of education at the very basic level in society.
Thanks, Luisa. Taking your words, indeed, the multidisciplinary collaboration to create a joint value is a key also here. And from the presentation from Alexandra, I know that Águas de Portugal, they are involved and involved in projects, in many projects with these different disciplinarities. Alexandra, what is the main challenges according to your experience of involving this multidisciplinarity in order to create this joint value? Alexandra, you are unmuted, Alexandra. Alexandra?
Okay, sorry, yes, okay, sorry. Thank you for your question, José. Let me tell you that we are working very hard. It is a priority for us to improve and to be a top performer in resilience, efficiency, innovation, and in circular economy. And efficiency, innovation, and resilience has everything to do with circular economy. Okay, and I think that well, we are water operators, so we want to provide the best quality service at the lowest cost. And of course, we have also a corporate responsibility to be also a strong performer to protect the environment. And I think that, well, there are many challenges, and I could be here for 1 hour speaking about the challenges. But let me highlight 2 or 3. The first one is the society. Okay? We are a public service, and our main concern is the society. So we need to work very hard, as Luisa said, in training, on education, on communication, to really create awareness in the society, not about circular economy on itself, but why is it so important to have business models based on circular economy? Why? The society has to understand why. For instance, climate change, decarbonization. I think that we, as a whole, we are almost winning this battle of awareness. I think all over the world, people are very aware about the need to decarbonize the economy. We have to do the same thing about circular economy, because decarbonization is also very, very related, very linked and very connected with decarbonization. Okay? So I would say, first challenge, society. Second challenge, and also I mentioned it, it's the regulator, the sectorial regulator, that should pave the way, also should create an enabling environment for all the operators, either public, either private, to be able to work more focused on circular economy models. And just the last one, it's important. I would not say that is the top, but it's very important, and I think that we have not speak about it during this panel. It's the green procurement practices. Okay, and I think it's very important also for the public sector to foster the green procurement best practices. I think it would be an incentive, a way forward, or a small step towards circular economy.
Thank you, Alexandra. There is one point, and this is more for those on the business level. If any company decides to really invest on circular economy and change this business model and everything, it is mandatory that this company requires new staff positions or new kinds of managers, or simply we can train also not only for the community, but also we can do internal training of our employees in order to change this model itself. What is your opinion about it?
It's a question for me? Yes?
Maybe Luisa, you, and also Marlene, of course, as a business developer. What is your opinion? What okay. Is it also to change this internally?
Okay, I can answer to that. Sorry about the screen, but something went wrong. Okay, but you are listening to me, yes?
Yes.
Okay, about the people in the organization. It's a very, very good question, because I believe that we need new competencies inside the organizations that are missing, and integrate that new competencies in the present competencies that we have. So it's very important to innovate, and we feel, at least I feel like a manager, that you told us digital is very important for the new business models for the circular economy. We need data scientists, for instance. We need more competencies on design thinking, which are new for the water operators. And also, I would add something else. The water sector is by tradition a little bit slower than other industries. We are more conservative. And we need to speed up. We need to accelerate innovation and take advantage of this present new normal that I feel that it enables a new mindset, very good, to speed up the transition for a circular economy inside the water operators.